You may judge me if you listen to the end of this story. But what happened with my mother and sister-in-law literally saved and revitalized me and gave me back my zest for life. If you are not ready for this turn of events, then stop listening immediately, because there will be too many heated revelations next. I stayed late again that afternoon. The client got up from the couch, so I explored everything I hadn't had time to explore yet. But such open attraction in women repulsed me. She had been coming to my massage sessions for 2 months now, trying to hit on me in every possible way, and I pretended I didn't notice. At home, my wife was literally sniffing me out. She would look for nail marks on my back and hikeys in hidden places. In her mind, I was doing this to all my clients 10 times a day. It's worth mentioning that my wife and I haven't had physical intimacy for a long time. On the basis of constant quarrels and scandals did not become an intimacy of the soul. I did not want to divorce her, and I did not want to cheat on her with some stray girl, because before we were happy, and I still hoped that our rifts would resolve themselves and we would become close to each other. Our marriage was going downhill. I reluctantly came home, took overtime jobs just to stay away longer. This is such a paradox. I was bad with my wife, but I did not want to leave her. I will understand only someone who has been in my place, and someone who has never been in a dead-end relationship, and cannot imagine how endless feeling of hopelessness in the soul. So that evening, my wife put on a smaller nightgown and smeared cream on her face so generously that I was afraid she would slip off the bed in the middle of the night. She lay down next to me and decided to talk. "Mason, my mom wants a back rub, and I thought I'd let her come to you. You're a good specialist. She trusts you. Sure, no problem. Let her go. When would she like to start? Tomorrow would be good. Okay, have her come in at 7. 0. I'll have my last client out by then. Okay, I'll tell her. Thank you." Olga turned away from me without kissing me goodnight, as she always did in the first years of our marriage, and soon fell asleep. The next day was again a succession of backs, arms, necks, and fifths of my clients and customers. By evening, my own arms and legs were aching from the constant exertion. But I still had 2 more clients, the one who liked to frame, and my mother-in-law. The first came today in leopard underwear. She was lying on the couch with her legs spread, but I stubbornly ignored her clues. I stretched and warmed her back, and she relaxed. But soon the session was over. The client sat up, letting the straps fall from her shoulders, and looked at me pleasantly. If only I were a little less resistant. But then the door to my office swung open, and she walked in. My mother-in-law was a petite, attractive woman with big green eyes. Today she had worn her golden brown hair in a high bun, exposing her white neck with a cute mole just above her collarbone. My mother-in-law glanced around the office, lingering on my client, and something predatory flashed in her usually calm eyes. "Hello, Mason?" The mother-in-law stepped forward and, pretending not to notice the client's bag on the floor, kicked it heartily with her cute little boot. "Oh, I'm sorry, please, I didn't do it on purpose," Tatiana said. "You should be more careful," the seductress replied. Her plans had clearly been disrupted. As for me, I was even glad that my mother-in-law had come to save me from further communication with a possessed woman. Under my mother-in-law's watchful gaze, the leopard-skinned beauty dressed and left the office. "Wipe the place down after her," my mother-in-law said dismissively. I grinned and changed the sheets on the couch. "Tell me what's wrong with your back. You know, it's like there are some clamps in my lower back and up here." My mother-in-law pointed to the area of my back between my shoulder blades. "Well, we're going to take your staples out. Take everything off and lie down on the couch," I said, and then I turned on some soft, relaxing music and turned on the aroma lamp. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law took off her Angora sweater and stayed in her red lace top. I had not expected her to wear something like that, but I was pleasantly surprised. My mother-in-law took off the top and placed it on the chair next to the couch before lying down on her stomach and purring blissfully. All day on her feet, finally lying down. I took out my best cream, which I only used on special occasions, and walked over to the couch where my wife's mother was sitting. I rubbed my hands together, touching her skin, and she jumped as if she'd been electrocuted. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Yeah, it's just been a while since anyone's touched me." I smirked, imagining what would have happened if she had been given, for example, a breast massage. Tatiana's husband disappeared 5 years ago. One day, he just didn't come home from work. We searched for him with the whole family, together with the police and volunteers, but there were no results. One night, Tatiana received a phone call from someone. At first, the someone breathed heavily into the receiver and then said one single word, "Sorry." My mother-in-law thinks that her husband just ran away from her and did not have the courage to say goodbye properly. After that, she was all alone. I didn't understand why. She looked younger than her years. She had a beautiful figure, a thin waist, a size 4 bust, on which men were always staring at her wherever she appeared, a firm and neat fifth point, on which the eyes also stopped. Now she was lying with that very point up, and I confess, I stared at her all the time. Her skin was as soft as satin sheets, and it felt good to massage it. Tatiana relaxed already 2 minutes after I touched her for the first time. "Mason, you have golden hands." She said, "Yes, I even have such an award. I won it in a professional skills contest." I replied, nodding at the statuette on the shelf. "You must have a lot of clients." "I'm not complaining. They pass it on to each other somehow, so I'm not out of work," I said. "Do you give your wife a massage?" "I did once a long time ago." "Not anymore," I said. "Why is that?" "She refuses. She says that after all these, as she puts it, girls of easy behavior, I should not touch her." My mother-in-law laughed. "But she doesn't know why she refuses. I'd go to such sessions every day, not just once. Here you just a few minutes massage, and I'm so relaxed as if I slept through the night." For today, our session is over. My mother-in-law got up from the couch without turning to me, but I had time to see her upward sway. She dressed leisurely as if not wanting to leave my office, which she said later in direct text while I was driving her home in the car. "It's so nice at your place. It's so relaxing. It's like being at a spa. Come back tomorrow at the same time." Olga was waiting for me at home. Today she was calmer than usual for some reason. "How was the session? Your mom has several problem points." "We'll try to work through them all," I said. "You are my gold," my wife said, and kissed me unexpectedly on the cheek. The next evening I was waiting for my mother-in-law for some reason. Today's session, i.e., as well as she, liked it. It was pleasant to be in her company. It was easy to be with her. Some light aura emanated from her. She was once again a seductress in front of her. Today she requested a massage of the inside of my thighs, probably hoping I wouldn't hold back, and I have to admit I was on edge. As the client left the office, I heard someone talking to her. I moved closer to the door and recognized my mother-in-law's voice. "Don't come here again, or I'll pull your hair out," she said. "How dare you? How dare I?" And here we go. The door was ajar, and I saw my mother-in-law clutching at the seductress's hair. She shrieked and tried to fight back, but she failed. The client corrected herself, and I thought I would never see her again. The mother-in-law, a little out of breath and flushed, came in, the client retreated, and I thought I would never see her again. My mother-in-law, a little out of breath and flushed, entered the office, said hello, and tried to tell from my eyes whether I had seen what was happening in the hallway. I gave her a completely nonchalant look, and she sighed in relief. I tried to remember the last time a woman had fought over me, and couldn't. It was probably the first such incident in my life. My mother-in-law took off her lemon-colored blouse and folded it on the chair, leaving me in my silk black underwear. "Would you please turn on the music like you did yesterday?" she asked. I turned on a CD and lit some incense. My mother-in-law lay on the couch in anticipation. I rubbed cream on my hands, applied it to her body, and touched her. I could tell from her reaction that she wanted it. It felt good to touch her delicate thin neck, her graceful shoulders, to run my fingertips along her shoulder blades and press and demandingly massage her sides. Massage is the most sensual part, and both my mother-in-law and I were attuned to each other today. Suddenly, my mother-in-law let out a barely audible long sigh. "Are you feeling ill?" I asked excitedly. "I'm fine," my mother-in-law said, and rolled over on the couch. I stared at her top, and she smiled. "Your massage is torture for me because you are such a handsome, virile man with gentle and strong hands." She said I was no longer able to hold back and sink my lips into her mole on her neck. After that, what my wife suspected me of every day happened several times on the couch. Well, her accusations would not be empty today. My mother-in-law and I got the maximum possible pleasure from this session. After everything, I took her home and made an appointment for the next evening at 6. She had deprived me of one client, and she would have to make up for it. In the evening, when we were already lying down with my wife, she told me that her mom was very pleased with the session, and then suddenly she timidly asked me to give her a massage. I didn't refuse, even though I was tired from the day, and things seemed to be starting to warm up between my wife and me. I don't know what will happen next, but I stopped feeling indifferent to what was happening, and my life began to color again. My affair with Tatiana continued for several more exciting weeks. Our secret trysts were passionate and intense. She brought out a side of me I didn't even know existed, adventurous, uninhibited, insatiable. I was counting the minutes until the next session. Things got better at home, too, as Olga and I rekindled our emotional and physical connection. We had some of the best conversations in our marriage. We made love with the tenderness I thought was lost forever. There were times when I forgot anything was wrong at all. I did my best to shut it all out, to be fully present in every relationship. But late at night, as I lay awake, filled with endorphins and the ecstasy of our dates with Tatiana, doubts crept in. I realized that I could no longer cheat on two women who had become very dear to me. So one cool fall evening, after Tatiana came out of my office, flushed and radiant, I asked Olga to take a walk with me in the park across the street. The sun was setting, casting everything in a reddish-golden light. We sat down on a bench by the pond, the leaves rustling around us. I took a deep breath and told Olga the whole truth about Tatiana and me, about how our emotional romance had grown into a physical one, how being with her had awakened a vitality and passion in me that I feared had disappeared, but how some days I felt like Tatiana and massage were all that kept me going. Naturally, Olga erupted, her face a kaleidoscope of anger, betrayal, devastation. I braced myself for her to get up and leave, to kick me out of the house. But after the first outburst, she just sat there, staring at the darkening water. When Olga finally spoke again, her voice was calm and steady. She said it wasn't my fault that the intimacy and joy in our marriage had disappeared. My betrayal, as painful as it was, had given us the opportunity to repair our relationship, or end it for good. In the thickening twilight, we talked for what seemed like hours. Olga asked thoughtful questions about my relationship with Tatiana, not attacking or defending, but seeking to understand. I answered openly and honestly, feeling her sympathy rather than judgment of the situation. As we got up to leave, soaked through from the cool night air, I felt strangely hopeful. Olga took my hand, intertwining her fingers with mine, and we walked slowly toward the house. Final decisions had not yet been made, but the fragile trust between us was being rekindled. Over the next few days, Olga initiated several long heart-to-heart conversations about the history of our relationship, our shared and separate dreams, and our sexual needs. Sometimes we laughed, sometimes we cried, sometimes we made love. It was like falling in love all over again. I ended my relationship with Tatiana as gently as I could. She was devastated, refusing to return my calls or see me for the first few weeks. But eventually she came to the office, and we were able to talk privately. I apologized for misleading her and hurting her. She apologized for knowingly engaging in an affair with her daughter's husband. The road has not always been smooth, but Olga and I continue to cherish our rediscovered intimacy. We make time for weekly dates, and when we can, get away for short weekends, leaving work and technology behind. Next month, on our 15th anniversary of dating, we'll renew our vows in a small sunset ceremony in the same park where I confessed my infidelity. Tatiana, who has become close to Olga again, will attend the celebration. We look forward to being all together and forgetting forever the problems of the past.